There is no way this happened last night with the Oilers star power on the bench. I'll get into all that and more today on Oilers Digest and what exactly happened during the game last night, as well as plenty other news regarding the Edmonton Oilers. But before we get into all the news, all the rumors, and all the breakdowns and all the recaps, make sure to subscribe here to Oilers Digest, as 85% of you have not yet subscribed to the channel. The season is still young and there's still plenty of time to subscribe. 4 games into the season. Of course, lots of storylines coming out of this one and will continue to happen throughout the season, so make sure to join us. But without further ado, folks, play La Bamba. Finally, yes, the 4th game of the season results in the Oilers' first playing of La Bamba at home against the Philadelphia Flyers as they beat them by a score of 4-3 in overtime on a night where this doesn't count as goaltender interference, but this counts as goaltender interference. The Oilers not only had to go against the Philadelphia Flyers, but they also had to go against the Striped Zebras and the rest of the officiating crew. I'll get to the score breakdown. I mean, how is this goaltender interference? I mean, Sanheim is running into Samuel Ersson, but I digress. The scoring summary here. Matvei Michkov gets his first 2 NHL career goals of his young NHL career to make it 2-0 Flyers after the first period. And then the third line for the Oilers strikes twice here in the second period, with Adam Henrique assisted by Mattias Janmark and Brett Kulak. And shortly thereafter, Connor Brown assisted by Jeff Skinner and Darnell Nurse. The Oilers killed off a 5-on-3, but after that, Bobby Brink makes it 3-2 Flyers. And then Evan Bouchard, with a little under 5 minutes left to go in the third period, assisted by the superpowers Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and then McDry strikes in overtime to make it 4-3 Oilers. Lots of storylines heading out of this game, like I mentioned, but looking at the advanced stats here, 33 shots on goal for the Edmonton Oilers. You can see their Philadelphia went 2 for 7 on the power play, so the Oilers still figuring out their PK situation, but they did kill off 5 power plays of Philadelphia. Stuart Skinner down the stretch was phenomenal. All you needed him to do was just put up a 900 and the Oilers would take it the rest of the way. Still trying to figure out their power play of their own, going 0 for 4. Just, a lot of stupid penalties that the Oilers did take last night. Of course, Leon Draisaitl with about I think it's less than 10 seconds left to go in the second period. Cross checks, I do believe it was Nick Delorier, heads off to the box. Again, not his smartest move, and he was indeed benched for that, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. I mean, the third line for the Oilers with Henrique, Connor Brown, and Jeff Skinner being phenomenal when it comes to the hockey stat score sheet after this one. And Darnell Nurse, I mean, had a pretty phenomenal game himself. Did what he needed to do. Wasn't detrimental to the team in any such way. And like I said, that Skinner Henrique Brown line was just a chef's kiss when it comes to providing a spark for the Oilers. Jeff Skinner, throughout the Oilers' first 4 games, has been their most consistent forward. I mean, that's not too shabby. He's doing what he was advertised to do. And even the defense, like I said, holding their own. Mattias Ekholm and Evan Bouchard, phenomenal. You don't really have to worry about them at all. Darnell Nurse and Troy Stecher put together again. Of course, they were put together for a few games last season and put up some, decent numbers. That's all you really need them to do. And then Brett Kulak and Ty Emberson, of course, the bottom 4 there, not horrible at all, which is, again, what you need them to do. And even Troy Stecher mixing it up there with Sean Couturier. Troy Stecher 5'10", Sean Couturier 6'4". That's the spark the Oilers needed. As you can see there, the top left, the scoreboard, 3-2 Flyers. Couturier runs into Stuart Skinner behind the net, and Troy Stecher sticks up for his goaltender, which is something that did not happen in the previous game against the Calgary Flames when Michael Backlund sort of slashed Stuart Skinner, and nobody really did anything about that. So Troy Stecher in the lineup for this game, and he is not taking no for an answer when it comes to fighting Sean Couturier there, as he lands a right hand, which, Troy Stecher, huge fan favorite, or starting to become a fan favorite in Edmonton with that. But like I said, Draisaitl was held off the ice for 5 minutes of 5-on-5 play, almost unheard of for him. After that, I'm going to say a stupid cross-checking penalty. Draisaitl, of course, he's been quite the emotional player these past couple of years when it comes to, unnecessary penalties in inopportune times, and that's something that Kris Knoblauch, noted, and he finally, was accountable for Draisaitl's mistakes. In the past, Oilers coaches have let the Stars have free reign, either because they felt those players were the team's only hope, or because that was unquestionably the case. I mean, who else were they going to turn to if they bench either McDavid or Draisaitl, right? In fairness to those who came before Knoblauch, the new bench bosses presided over the most talent in the McDavid-Draisaitl era, at least on paper. Since he was hired last November, that certainly gives him more leeway to be bold, and that's exactly what a coach needs to do. You know, when one of your star players is acting up, as they say, that's what you need to do. You need to send a message not just to Draisaitl, but to the entire team that, you know, stupid mistakes, stupid decisions, they do have consequences, and it sort of, you know, got to Leon Draisaitl as he had his secondary assist on the Bouchard tying goal, and lastly, the overtime winner assisted by Connor McDavid. So he got the message, and post-game, it's sort of tough to get a read on him, but he did take accountability for those mistakes. He said when he was asked about Knoblauch's decision to bench him, he says, "You're going to have to ask him that," him being Kris Knoblauch. "It's an unnecessary penalty on my behalf. I think some of the penalties, like mine is, like I said, unnecessary. That's on us, and that's on me." Of course, the Oilers, you know, 7 penalties last night, one of which was a delay of game for that Michkov pushing the pad into the net. Kris Knoblauch did challenge it, and it ended up being a goal. So, you know, one of the penalties, not exactly their mistake, but still, that's 6 other penalties that the Oilers do need to be held accountable for at any point of the game. I mean, it just slows down the entire game. You know, the Oilers, if the more penalties they take, the more momentum they don't gain, and that's just less offensive opportunities. And then Kris Knoblauch says, as a group, he was questioned about the specific Draisaitl benching, but he sort of made this a little more broad, which, you know, again, a coach throwing people under the bus, not exactly the best scenario here. He got his message across, and that was it. He said, as a group, we took some penalties that we didn't need to take. We just got to ultimately stay out of the penalty box and play our game, make it easier on ourselves so we can play on the attack, play 5-on-5, or even drawing penalties. And lastly here, overall, we played a pretty good game. Of course, you know, the first period and the first half of the second period, there was lots of improvement, room for lots of improvement, and the Oilers, as the game went on, got a little bit better. They're, you know, starting to gel together with the new season. Overall, we played a pretty good game. There was a lot of self-inflicted adversity. The penalties were not ideal. In the amount of time we were penalty killing, it made it hard trying to generate some offense in the long run. It looks good for us that we were able to fight through that and still come out with a victory. Ultimately, we made it harder on ourselves than it had to be. But a win's a win. They don't ask how. You know, just win, baby. That's the saying. In the Oilers, in you know, the early goings of the season, they will take it any way they can. I'm not complaining. I mean, a 4-3 overtime win in front of your home crowd. You know, very emotional with the Stetcher fight and the Corey Perry fight right after as well. With, I do believe it was Travis Konechny, correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, the Oilers, they are getting a spark that they needed desperately. I mean, they haven't started 0-4 since McDavid's rookie season, and that was 9 years ago. So, you know, with the team that they have, they shouldn't have this start, so they're starting to get more momentum, and I'm all the more excited for it. But what's next? Yes, the Oilers go on the road finally as they take on the Nashville Predators on Thursday. Today's a travel day for them. And with Nashville, that comes one thing: the mayor of Nashville, Leon Draisaitl. 26 games against the Predators in his career, 25 goals, 17 assists. So after a game like that against Philadelphia and Kris Knoblauch sending him a message, it should be more than exciting to see Leon Draisaitl do his magic in front of pretty much his home crowd. I mean, he is the mayor of Nashville after all, and we will have lots of coverage for that tomorrow and the day after with a game recap. That's it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about the benching. Was it warranted? Was it unwarranted? Any other thoughts about the game, about the Stetcher fight? What do you think about the whole lineup in itself? Let me know down in the comments. Have yourselves a fantastic day. I'm Matt.